This is not something to joke with.
A shocking doorbell video. A man wearing a possible Ku Klux Klan hood in Colbert. What the sheriff's office is saying about the incident tonight.
A former WSU football coach loses his legal battle against the university. Why a judge ruled his firing was justified.
We're once again under a big ridge of high pressure, and that means an atmospheric conversion, fog, and clouds in the coming days.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 5 tonight. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
It's good to have you here. I'm Whitney Ward. We do begin tonight with breaking news. One person is dead and two have been arrested after a shooting in Spokane Valley this afternoon.
KREM 2's Connor McAvoy has been on the scene for the last several hours today and just spoke with police. So, Connor, what's the latest?
Well, Spokane County Sheriff's Office tells me that one person is dead from a shooting that happened here in this parking lot. You can see behind me there's police tape blocked off as deputies are continuing to investigate. Now, Corporal Gregory with the Spokane County Sheriff's Office says deputies responded to the shooting at a little before 12:30 this afternoon, where they found a man who was later pronounced dead here at the scene. Now, sheriff's deputies detained two men they believe are connected to the shooting. Right now, deputies and major crime units are on scene right now investigating. And Corporal Gregory with the sheriff's office says he estimates they will be out here for the next several hours. He advises anyone in the area of South Raymond Lane and South University Road to use alternate routes if traveling, as the area is closed while they are investigating. Now, we reached out to Spokane Valley Tech, which is a school less than half a mile away from where the shooting happened. The school says at 12:30, the school locked all the doors in the building and students were asked to stay in their classrooms. This is what's called secure and teach. An hour later, that protocol was lifted and law enforcement reported the area was made safe. And around that time, we found out about the two men that have been, again, detained in relation to this. Now, this afternoon, I've spoken with a few people who live in this area. One woman I spoke with who did not want to go on camera says she heard the shots fired just a few hours ago. Now, again, deputies are still investigating the scene right here. We'll be providing more information as that becomes available. In Spokane Valley, Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
All right, Connor, thank you very much. Spokane police say one person was shot in the Logan neighborhood this morning. It happened at the Nom Nom at Perry in Illinois last night. Police say that person that was shot then ran away from the scene. Police later found them and took them to the hospital. Officers say the shooter stayed at the scene and is cooperating with police. Major Crimes is investigating, and police say there is no danger to the community.
Tonight, we are learning more about a photo of someone in what appears to be a Ku Klux Klan hood walking up to a Colbert home.
The photo was posted online over the weekend. Today, the Spokane County Sheriff's Office says they did investigate. This is a screenshot of the video. Authorities confirmed the person in the video rang a Colbert homeowner's doorbell and then ran away.
Now, KREM 2 did reach out to deputies. They said they investigated but do not have anything to believe that leads them to believe it was racially motivated. They said also yesterday we spoke to the NAACP Spokane branch president Lisa Gardner about what happened. She says they are concerned.
This is not something to joke with. This is not something to make light of. It's not something that we take lightly, and we want to make sure that our community is safe and that we have a safe and peaceful MLK Day march.
Officials with the local chapter of the NAACP say they don't know the reason the person did that. Tonight, they're asking the community if anyone knows any further information.
Today, a U.S. District Court judge in Spokane ruled against former WSU football coach Nick Rolovich in his lawsuit against the university for wrongful termination. Rolovich was fired from WSU back in December of 2021 after he had refused to comply with a Washington COVID-19 vaccine mandate for state employees. Rolovich at the time refused the vaccine on religious grounds. He then sued the university, saying that they were violating his civil rights. Today, the court dismissed those claims and found in favor of the university, saying they had just cause for his termination. At the time of his firing, Rolovich was the highest paid state employee in Washington.
Happening tonight, Spokane City Council is set to pay $500,000 in a settlement for the death of Robert Bradley. You might remember Bradley was killed by Spokane police back in 2022 while they were trying to serve him orders. Police say they shot and killed Bradley because they thought he was reaching for his weapon. Last April, an independent investigation led by the Spokane County Sheriff's Office ruled the shooting was justified. Bradley's fiancée, Sarah McLaughlin, sued the city, alleging it was wrongful death. Tonight, City Council is settling that lawsuit, paying McLaughlin $500,000.
We stand ready to hold up Idaho as an shining example of how to properly and minimally govern, which starts and ends with keeping promises to the people we serve.
Idaho Governor Brad Little is making big promises as part of his annual State of the State address.
KREM 2's Shannon Mowdy is here to break down some of his proposals for the new year. Shannon?
Governor Little is recommending lawmakers support several investments in education, infrastructure, and public safety. As Idaho Governor Brad Little enters his 6th year in office, he's making big promises, what he calls his Keeping Promises plan.
There is no doubt Idaho's on a roll.
One of Little's major priorities in the new year, what he calls a continued trend of tax relief.
We promised Idahoans historic tax relief and delivered back-to-back tax cuts.
He's proposing $100 million in additional tax cuts. Education is another key priority. Little says the public charter school system offers families more options, transparency, and accountability. He's recommending a $50 million revenue adjustment for more education options.
I recognize the growing desire to expand school choice, especially for students with unique physical or developmental conditions.
Little says this system will not take money from public schools, which he says is his first funding priority. He's promised $150 million for public schools. But Idaho's Education Association expressed disappointment at the private school voucher plan. A statement from President Lane McAnally says, in part, rather than siphoning public tax dollars for-profit, private, or religious schools, we should invest in the future of our children by finally ending the state's chronic underfunding of education. Little says since he took office, Idaho's crime rate has gone down 17%.
My Keeping Promises plan includes the addition of a new prosecutor in North Idaho who will solely focus on putting away drug traffickers.
$85,000 will fund the new Special Assistant U.S. Attorney in Coeur d'Alene, focused on the drug trade along I-90 and Highway 95. You can watch the governor's full address right now on KREM 2+. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Shannon, thank you very much. Today, Congress certified President-elect Donald Trump's election.
The proceedings were a far cry from what happened 4 years ago when hundreds of Trump supporters entered the Capitol in an attempt to prevent Congress from certifying the electoral vote. Today, the electoral ballot boxes entered the chamber to applause. Vice President Kamala Harris presided over the count, and with no objections, the election was certified. In the 4 years since the last certification, nearly 1,600 people have been charged for their roles in the January 6th attack. President-elect Donald Trump has promised to pardon January 6th defendants.
All right, taking a quick break now from the headlines. We want to talk weather tonight. The inland Northwest settling into slightly drier weather pattern for the next several days.
Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Lagoud. Jeremy, let's talk about this fog and when we might actually see the sun again. It's been like 2 months since we've seen it.
The next few days don't look great. I mean, if you look at the overall weather pattern, and if you don't have boots on the ground, you might look at it and think, oh, we might get to see a little bit of something. But unfortunately, with a big ridge of high pressure building overhead and moisture down on the ground, we are heading into yet another inversion pattern. With patchy, dense fog, it is likely we saw our warmest temperature of the week today and the most sun we will see until maybe Thursday afternoon earlier today. 34 degrees where we currently sit. You're like slightly above freezing down in Pullman, Ritzville, and down in Walla Walla as well. Sandpoint, Coeur d'Alene, Deer Park, Moscow, you're down to or below freezing, and that plays a big role in what we wind up seeing with a clear-ish sky overhead. Temperatures will drop. Dropping temperatures means the formation of more fog. It likely starts in the valley and creeps its way up. Fog and low-hanging cloud cover will take us into Tuesday morning, and then as we move from Tuesday into Wednesday, there's some indication that we'll see a little bit of a disturbance moving through. That looks like it's early Wednesday, but I think the forecast models have a long way to go to figure out what happens here. Reason being that disturbance isn't necessarily one that is going to win the battle against our ridge of high pressure. So instead, we're going to call it mostly cloudy, maybe a little bit of freezing drizzle or light flurries in the morning. That's about it. And then it's back to the fog, the clouds, and the cool temperatures in the coming days.
All right, Jeremy, thanks. Still to come, a downtown staple is closed right now. How O'Doherty's is handling the fallout after a fire.
Sounded like it was right outside my window.
A freight train falls into a river after a trestle collapsed in Oregon. More on the mess left behind coming up next.